What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So now that we're less than 1 month away from the Switch 2 releasing, there are a lot of people looking around to make sure that their pre-orders are indeed still intact, especially after stories pop up around a certain big box retailer that may have been going around canceling orders. Well, we have some more information on that. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 6, as trailer 2 did indeed drop yesterday and absolutely took over the internet as expecting. And then we do have some new Game Pass games to look forward to for the month of May, with one big one, of course, dropping here in just a couple weeks. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or the link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with the next Battlefield game that has actually been in testing here for a couple of months now. And while EA was pretty much asking everyone, hey, don't share the footage, well, people were sharing the footage. So from what I've seen in some of the small snippets, it looks good, but it's also Battlefield, and a lot of times leading up to release, the footage looks good, and then a bunch of people get to play it, and well, you get Battlefield 2042. That just wasn't ready for release necessarily. But it looks like EA is looking to deliver this game here by the end of their next fiscal year. We can see this posted up. This is from VGC, who says Electronic Arts has confirmed it will release the next Battlefield game by March 2026. So that being within their fiscal year, with a full public reveal due to take place this summer. I mean, Summer Game Fest is right around the corner. I guess that would make sense, but really, it's EA, it's Battlefield. They could just drop a trailer and a deep dive into the game whenever they want. I think the thing that is the most exciting to me anyway is the idea of more destructible environments, getting back to what I remember things like Bad Company 2, which was awesome. If they could do that, but next level as like next generation with this new Battlefield game, I think that would be awesome and a step in the right direction, and it's what I hope to see. Based on some of the footage, feels like that's the direction, but I guess we'll see more this summer when they do the official reveal. Also, we do have Final Fantasy VII Remake heading to the Switch 2 with integrated content, everything intact there. And now people are looking towards the future with maybe Rebirth and the third game in this trilogy set to debut, because, well, there was this interview that took place with the director for the series, and they had some choice words for the platform, mentioning that it is a good platform to develop for, even pointing out the amount of RAM that's available on this, of course, versus the current Switch at 4 gigabytes versus 12. But then they also mentioned this here. We can see the screen capture saying, I hope players are looking forward to the Final Fantasy VII Remake series on Nintendo Switch 2. Everyone looked at that and said, hold on, the series? I thought we were just talking about Final Fantasy VII Integrate. No, the series, as in Rebirth, and then whatever this third one ends up being called. So it's pretty clear that, I mean, there's been some deal with Sony, and that's why you have these timed exclusive launches for Final Fantasy VII, now with Remake finally jumping over to another platform outside of even just PC, but for the Switch too. And it's not shocking to hear that eventually, especially based on some of their recent language and talking points of we're going to go multi-platform as much as possible, that maybe when any of the deals or the timing runs up with Sony, they start to move these games all over the place as much as possible. So eventually, I'm sure we will have the overall series represented on Nintendo's platform. How long will that take? It's kind of up to, I guess, the contract that's been signed, but I do expect the third one to specifically launch for PS5 and PS5 Pro, and then eventually find its way to other platforms when that runs up. Oh, and we do have some quick sales updates here. We can see, for example, Split Fiction has now crossed 4 million copies sold, which is very, very impressive there, especially if you consider the fact that for every 1 copy sold, there'd be 2 people playing. So at bare minimum, 8 million people, you assume, have at least played the game, probably much more than that. And then on the other side, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has crossed 2 million copies sold in about 12 days, as was mentioned by their publisher. So just impressive stuff all the way around from the 2 highest rated games so far of the year that people are kind of locking in now as like Game of the Year nominees for the end of 2025, which, I mean, I mean, looking around now, we do have some high-rated games already just starting off May, and I think we're going to get many other high-rated games as we go along. So something tells me, especially as we get more and more release dates targeting the holiday, we're going to get, actually, I think a pretty good year overall in gaming, but we'll see how some of those turn out. But for now, Clear Obscure Expedition 33, Split Fiction, certainly hitting their sales goals. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Switch 2 pre-order cancellation concerns. And this seemed to really stem from Walmart specifically, although let's face it, on pre-order night, Target was taking pre-orders and then canceling them. So this isn't necessarily the first time most people have heard about the idea of cancellations for Switch 2 pre-orders, and it probably won't be the last before June 5th when the system is officially launched. But in this case, we have this that was posted. This is from Go Nintendo. It mentions Walmart reportedly canceling select Switch 2 pre-orders, and this seemed to start to make the rounds very quickly as people were popping up on different Reddits, which I did find a few we'll go over here in a minute, just mentioning that there have been some weird things happening with their orders at Walmart. Up front, I did check my order at Walmart, and it's still there intact, no movement, no changes, nothing, so I guess good news there. I would recommend anyone currently as a pre-order at Walmart, if you haven't checked it since you made it, you may as well check it just to be sure. But if we look over at Go Nintendo, they had an update as time was going on throughout the day, saying that there are reports of new accounts with pre-orders being closed, reports of pre-orders seemingly disappearing, and then Walmart customer service claiming the website was suffering from a glitch that made it appear that pre-orders were no longer attached to customer accounts. So I mean, that's just all over the place. It feels like in the back end there with their website. I think the real concern would be, okay, does Walmart see me for some reason as a bot that made the order, and then it decides to cancel my pre-order there, as of course they were going through along, seemingly with GameStop. Just double checking any oddities when it comes to orders, especially whether maybe speed of checkout or just the number that's attached maybe to one, I guess, IP address, or you can't really do, it was one per account, right? So you'd have to have multiple accounts, phone numbers, etc., to make a whole bunch of these different orders. Now, Jake Randall did chime in here in response, saying this is false, just pending authorizations being returned to people's bank accounts, and those individuals not understanding this is normal. So it seems like Jake was looking around a bit after hearing this, as you'd expect, since he's really been following along closely with all the pre-order stuff that's going on, as he does with many of these different releases. So you do want to pay attention and follow along with him, especially over on a place like X, as he does quick updates there. And then also, of course, on YouTube, he'll spend time kind of going over things there in video format. But in this case, I did look around myself just to see, and from what I can tell, I found a few posts even on Walmart's subreddit mentioning the Switch 2 and how there was this strange situation where they were refunded the money that they had in place, so that just the purchase up front on pre-order night, but they had that money sent back, and it seems like those are pending orders or pending payments that timed out, basically, and they send them back, which means yes, they will eventually charge you for it, okay? So some were wondering, I saw a response, oh, you got it for free, I guess. No, they'll come back and collect their money. Don't worry about that. It's just something that was left in like an escrow or something, and it just didn't necessarily go through or was requested, so they return it to you, and then they'll, again, come back and get it from you. So if that's happened to you, hang out with the money because it's going back to Walmart eventually. Just make sure your order is there attached to your account, because they will need that in place in order to then trigger the transaction and get all of that rolling along. But at the very least, yes, check your account to make sure the order's there, and keep an eye on it, because it wouldn't shock me if we have other stories like this again pop up as we head towards June 5th, and I'll try my best to keep you guys up to date on it. But at least for now, no mass cancellations or major cancellations, I guess, across the board. This is just a couple of small situations or accounts of it, and most of it seems pretty straightforward for the most part. Next up, let's talk about Grand Theft Auto 6. I did a quick video reaction basically after the trailer had released yesterday morning, so check that out if you just want more context around the whole thing and some of my thoughts. But we did get trailer 2, and at this time of recording, it's just crossed the 40 million view mark already. It's like 11 or 12 hours later, and it is rolling along #1 on trending again, as you'd expect all the way around. The first trailer did like 240 something million views, so I don't know if this trailer is going to get to that point because it was the sense of this is the first time we've seen Grand Theft Auto 6 at all. So it's not necessarily that sort of an occasion, but it has been more than a year since we've had that trailer, so it's still pretty big. And in fact, in this case, it looks like it's focusing on the other protagonist, the other part of that Bonnie and Clyde setup with Jason Duval. And it starts out with him in general fixing a leak on the roof. So, I mean, yeah, good nod there from Rockstar after what happened more than a year ago with their initial trailer. But they also did update their website with a ton of media. They have screenshots, they have a bunch of different character bios, they go over all like the side characters and stuff, and they even give us a quick synopsis here, where they say, Jason and Lucia have always known the deck is stacked against them, but when an easy score goes wrong, they find themselves on the darkest side of the sunniest place in America, in the middle of a criminal conspiracy stretching across the state of Leonida, forced to rely on each other more than ever if they want to make it out alive. And the biggest thing that clearly sticks out here are the visuals, because it is the best looking game so far that I've ever seen. Now, we haven't seen gameplay, which I'll get to that in a moment here, but in terms of the visuals, it's super impressive stuff, and it's what you expect from Rockstar. It's highly detailed, a lot of small things that it seems like they spent quite a bit of time on. For example, one aspect that was pointed out was the fact that like the beer that was on the coffee table in just a quick scene where they're watching a commercial had like the bubbles and it was fizzing and stuff, and it looked super realistic, but it was for a couple of seconds out of almost out of frame. So that is that Rockstar attention to detail and polish that people would expect from this. But otherwise, it's kind of just more backstory and more setting up the plot, the characters, details like that, not necessarily showing how the game is playing. And that is a big question because I played GTA 5 actually the other night, which again, it kind of lines up there. Is sure a lot of coincidence, but still, it was, I was playing it there and it definitely feels like a game from 2013. So aiming, movement, shooting, all that. I'm hoping it is something that they've worked to refine more with this game, but we just haven't seen it yet. Otherwise, though, I like the characters that they've shown. While no one that you play as in Grand Theft Auto is typically considered a good guy, I will say the protagonists in the story that we'll be playing as seem likable. I think in this case, though, they line up really, really well with the area, that being Florida, Vice City, and it feels like they're in over their head as being described, and it should be a lot of fun sort of going through what's going to be a ridiculous story. It's in Florida. There's a lot of just real world like source material they can pull from and do parodies of. So I'm looking forward to it. It's just we're 13 months out. And I would assume we'll get a gameplay trailer probably 2 to 3 months before the game releases. So I would look towards maybe like February for that, if it's going to be mirroring how they did the rollout for GTA 5. And so far, that seems to be the plan. So we'll find out more about how the game actually plays, most likely to kick off 2026. But at least for now, you can take a look at probably, again, the best looking game, in-game visual so far that we've seen with that new trailer. Next up, let's talk about Xbox Game Pass games for the month of May. Now, this will actually span a good part of the way through, about 3/4 through May, and we'll start here at the top. And that's with Dredge, that's available today, cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Then we move up to May 7th today, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, cloud, console, and PC. Keep in mind, we are dealing with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, PC Game Pass, and Game Pass Standard. So there are a lot of tiers to cover here. For example, Dungeons of Hinterberg, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, Metal Slug Tactics. Those are all in Xbox Game Pass Standard today. So Metal Slug Tactics is... I was playing that game, it just didn't necessarily click with me, I will admit that, but it's still an interesting take on the Metal Slug franchise there as a more tactical style game. Then moving up to May 8th, we have Revenge of the Savage Planet, cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. That is Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass, available on day one with Game Pass. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed, that's cloud, console, and PC, Game Pass Ultimate, PC Game Pass, and Game Pass Standard. Warhammer Vermintide 2, that's May 13th on cloud and console. And then the big one, obviously, Doom the Dark Ages, cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S, May 15th, and that's the big one. That's the one I'm really looking forward to. Of course, they mentioning available day one with Game Pass, and I mean, it looks as you'd expect with Doom, but a bit of a twist with a more open-ended single-player game, as they showed it off as kind of an adventure-style game. Also, the parry mechanic, and you just being more of a tank in this one than ever before. The shield looks awesome, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Moving on to May 16th, we have Culebra and the Souls of Limbo, cloud console and PC. Firefighting Simulator, The Squad, cloud console and PC on May 20th, along with Police Simulator Patrol Officers, cloud, console, and PC. So overall, pretty cool month. I mean, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, if you've never played it and you're a Dragon Ball fan, it's a fun one to download. It's just there's a lot there because it does try to kind of be that almost MMO-like experience. But to me, Doom the Dark Ages, that's the big one I'm looking forward to, and I'll be playing that immediately when it drops May 15th. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk on the Switch 2. Because the big thing about this with their marketing campaign is it's all on the cartridge in a sea of game key cards everywhere. Even something like Bravely Default being on a game key card, whereas Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition is on a 64 gig card is it's very strange, isn't it? Well, we have a bit of an explanation here, and people, of course, have been wondering why is CD Projekt doing that when I assume they could just throw it on a game key. People would go, oh, of course they are. But if you want to play Cyberpunk, you're still going to buy it there, as at least the idea of, couldn't you get away with it? Well, this is actually what they had to say. This was posted up over on The Game Business from Jan Rosner, the VP of Business Development at CD Projekt Red, saying it's not a matter of getting away with something. Nintendo at physical retail is still strong, and retail is in general not going anywhere. I don't think we'll soon experience a reality where we're just having all games digital. But again, it's especially important for the Nintendo audience. We maybe could have got away with it, but is there a point? The right thing to do is to have it out on the cartridge with a plug-and-play experience. And he has some advice here, okay, for some of the other companies. Do not underestimate the physical edition. It's not going anywhere, and Nintendo players are very appreciative of physical editions that are done right. So it's very clear to us, even as the customers, that there is an added cost for using that 64 gigabyte cartridge. So think of a game right now that's 50 or 60 bucks. And it's a game key, but then you look, okay, it's 50 gigabytes. They could have put it on a 64 gigabyte cartridge. Would you rather spend $10 more for that additional space, that cartridge? So say instead of 60, it's 70, instead of 50, it's 60 or even 70. Would you rather spend that money for the 64 gig and have it there plug and play? Or would you prefer the cheaper price with the game key card? I am genuinely curious because there are some out there, I'm sure, who don't really care if it's a game key card or not, if you can save money. But I do like sort of the approach here by CD Projekt Red in the sense that it needs that plug-and-play experience. It's what Nintendo gamers have expected for the most part, unless there's a blue banner, for the current Switch. And going into the Switch 2, it feels like that's a good marketing campaign. Hey, you know that game you bought? Yeah, it's actually on the cartridge. It seems weird that that is a marketing campaign, but that's what CD Projekt Red is doing right now with Cyberpunk 2077, and with good effect. People are pointing it out over and over again that they are using a 64 gigabyte cartridge in order to house the entire game with the downloadable content all there, minus, I'm sure, a day one patch, as we've pretty much grown to expect, but not a 50 gigabyte day one patch that you get with the game key card. And I do wonder if that's just going to confuse some consumers out there that may be a bit out of the loop on it. Well, they'll learn right away that, if you do buy that game key card, you're not playing it right away, and you better be ready with some pretty good internet. Otherwise, you're waiting a couple of hours to play that newly purchased release. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, if you're picking up GTA 6 at launch, which system are you buying it on? Okay, so the PS5 is 77%, the Xbox Series at 23%, and I saw many people say, I'm just going to wait for it on PC the following year. And that's fine too. I'm buying it on the PS5 Pro right away, and I am curious if it's going to have any kind of additional mode for the PS5 Pro specifically. The trailer, of course, it's all like in-game cinematic style, like in-engine, as I guess they'd call it, and it's definitely 30 frames, so it is that question mark of, okay, maybe the PS5 base won't be able to do it, or the Xbox Series systems won't be able to do it. Can the PS5 Pro muster up just enough to give us a 60 FPS mode? You know, I gotta say right now, I don't think that's the priority for Rockstar, because look at Red Dead Redemption 2. It's still 30 frames on consoles, although they haven't done a new generation, next generation version of it yet. But it seems like, of course, Rockstar is thinking more about the fidelity and presentation at times as opposed to the playability of the game. And that rings true with something like even GTA 5, like 12 years later now. So yeah, I'm hopeful, but I'm not necessarily counting on it. But still, the PS5 Pro, I assume, is just going to give the best overall look and fidelity and everything for the game itself. But not too surprising to see that the vast majority are picking up on the PS5, just based on like the sheer number of consoles that are out there compared to the Xbox. And then we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Prim, who says, hey, did you ever notice how when large TVs became accessible, local split-screen multiplayer went almost extinct? Yeah, I will say, being crowded around like a 20-inch tube TV, and it was cut into 4 pieces for things like GoldenEye or Perfect Dark or Mario Kart back in the day. Yeah, it wasn't, I mean, we look back on it with the nostalgia glass, like those were the days right there. Holding up cardboard so people couldn't screen look. But if you go back in time now and attempt that, that's rough. I mean, we're talking about tube TVs that have like super low interlaced images and it's in terms of resolution. So it was tough seeing even what was going on your little square versus just trying to even screen look. But still, it is funny, and now that you mention it, that we get these larger 4K displays and now everything's going away from split screen. It's news. It's a big deal. If a game has split screen of any kind, especially campaign co-op, like we were talking about with the new Gears of War Reloaded game. So, of course, we fix one issue with the small TVs and then just completely leave behind split screen for the most part. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you want to hear more about GTA 6 Trailer 2, as I did a longer video kind of reacting to and talking about some of my thoughts with that game. I'll leave that in the video below it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.